Everyone in the village of Umolo had long stopped believing in miracles, until Tobi did something no one could explain. At the edge of the market square, where dust danced with every passing footstep, sat a boy barely 17. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, his slippers held together by safety pins, and his eyes, those eyes, burned with something the elders hadn't seen in decades, quiet fire. The villagers mocked him, called him a Dreamer Tobi because he often sat for hours beside his late father's toolbox, whispering to machines that no longer worked. One morning, an old woman passed by and dropped a shattered smartphone beside him. "Fix it," she laughed, "since you say you talk to broken things." She didn't expect anything. But Tobi didn't laugh. He picked up the phone like it was gold. He didn't eat that day. Instead, he sat under the mango tree behind Mama Era's kiosk, took out the rusty screwdrivers, a tiny flashlight tied with a rubber band, and began to work. The screen was cracked beyond repair. The motherboard had blackened from water damage. The battery was swollen like it had secrets. But Tobi, with hands steadied by hardship and a heart trained by silence, pressed on. The phone hissed. Then blinked. Then buzzed. The old woman fainted. Word spread like wildfire that Tobi had raised the dead, or at least, a dead phone. The next day, he found 5 more broken gadgets waiting for him under the tree. Some came from across the river, others from towns he'd never heard of. But none of them came with money. Not yet. He fixed them anyway. He didn't want coins. He wanted something bigger. He wanted to prove that even broken things, like phones, like dreams, could live again. And that's when everything began to change. Mama Era was the first to believe in him. She offered him a wooden bench and a shade under her kiosk, right beside the kerosene stove. "You sit here now," she said, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "You're no longer fixing phones under that mango tree like a wandering goat." Her words were harsh, but her smile was soft. From then on, Tobi had a workstation. And soon, a reputation. People came with tablets that wouldn't charge, radios that no longer hummed, even a dusty desktop computer from the town chief's office. Tobi never said no. His fingers danced like magic. But it wasn't magic, it was memory. His late father had once been the best radio repairman in 3 villages, and little Tobi had watched him closely, even when Papa didn't know. Every screw Tobi turned now echoed lessons whispered in the past. One afternoon, the customer tried to cheat him. "You didn't fix it," the man lied. "I found it working already." Tobi didn't argue. He quietly reached for the battery and unplugged a trick switch he had installed to test honesty. The phone died instantly. The crowd laughed. The man fled. That day, Tobi became more than just a fixer. He became a lesson. By the end of the week, people were leaving him tips, small but enough to buy proper tools. Mama Era gave him an old drawer to store them. He carved his name on it with a knife. Tobi's workshop, it read. Crooked letters, but bold. That night, he slept with the key to that drawer under his pillow. What he didn't know was that someone had been watching him closely from across the market. Someone who would soon turn his rising story into a test of fire. The man's name was Depo. He wore a silver chain and a smile too wide to trust. He ran the only phone shop in Umalo, a Depo Tech World. His shop was flashy, filled with blinking lights and imported speakers, but behind the glitter, Depo had a secret: he couldn't fix anything. He relied on apprentices who came and went like rain. Business had started to slow. People now whispered Tobi's name more than his. One morning, Depo strolled up to Tobi's bench with a broken iPhone in his palm. "Let's see if the miracle boy can handle this," he said loud enough for the crowd to hear. Tobi took the phone without a word. He didn't boast. He didn't tremble. For 6 hours, he worked, eyes focused, sweat tracing his jaw. At sundown, he handed the phone back, shining and working. The crowd clapped. But Depo didn't smile. He just nodded and walked away. That night, someone broke into Mama Era's kiosk. Nothing was stolen except Tobi's tools. He found the drawer splintered, his screwdrivers gone, even the small flashlight his father had once gifted him. His hands trembled not from fear, but from heartbreak. For the first time in weeks, he sat alone under the mango tree again, staring into the night. But he didn't cry. He simply whispered, "If they can steal my tools, they cannot steal my hands." By morning, something unexpected happened. People from the market started showing up, each holding something, an old plier, a forgotten wrench, a torchlight with fading batteries. "We believe in you," they said. "Start again." And he did. But this time, not alone. One evening, a quiet girl named Ifeoma arrived with a laptop wrapped in cloth. She didn't speak much, but her eyes lingered on Tobi as he worked. The laptop had belonged to her late brother who died in an accident the year before. "He wanted to be a designer," she said softly. "The laptop, it's all I have of him." With every tool returned to him by grateful hands, Tobi built something more than a workstation, he built a movement. His corner of the market became a circle of hope. Children came to watch, elders came to bless, and travelers came to test the boy whose name was now painted in bold letters on a plank above Mama Era's kiosk. Tobi repairs broken things. Tobi took extra care. He handled it like glass. For 2 days, he studied its motherboard, cleaned every inch with a toothbrush, replaced a rusted pot with one borrowed from a toy printer, then finally watched as the screen flickered to life. Ifeoma gasped and pressed her palm to her chest. Tears flowed. That day, Tobi understood something deeper. Sometimes, what he fixed wasn't just gadgets. Sometimes, he repaired hearts. But Depo wasn't finished. He began spreading rumors that Tobi used dark powers, that he spoke to spirits at night, that he once resurrected a phone. No was that the next person to walk into his life would open a heart had been buried. Some villagers began to fear. Others avoided him. And slowly, the stream of customers thinned. Tobi looked around at the empty space and sighed. "Even good hands can be feared," he muttered. But what he didn't do to the biggest repair job of his life, one that had nothing to do with machines. The man who arrived that afternoon wore a faded agbada and held a walking stick carved with the face of a lion. His name was Baba Cole, a retired engineer who had lived in Lagos for 40 years before returning to Umulo. He stood silently as Tobi repaired a faulty speaker. When Tobi was done, Baba Cole clapped once and said, "You remind me of someone I once mentored." Tobi looked up, curious. The old man smiled. "That someone is now the owner of 5 tech companies in Abuja." That day, Baba Cole returned with a challenge, a bag filled with phones, laptops, radios, even a broken solar panel. "Fix any 5 before the week ends," he said. "I'll give you something worth more than money." Tobi accepted. For 6 straight days, he barely slept. Mama Era brought him food he didn't taste. Ifeoma watched quietly, sometimes handing him tools, sometimes just whispering, "You can do it." By the 7th day, Baba Cole returned. Everything worked. Even the solar panel now powered a bulb that glowed in the evening sun. The old man stared, long and proud, then reached into his bag and handed Tobi a flat box. Inside was a tablet, a real one. And on the back was a logo, TK Designs. "This is yours now," Baba Cole said. "Use it to learn, it to grow, to connect with the world. There are people like you out there. Find them." The next morning, Tobi connected to free Wi-Fi behind the local school and opened YouTube for the first time in his life. What he saw changed everything. The screen glowed softly in the early morning light as Tobi sat beneath the school's broken fence, tablet in hand. For the first time, he entered a world far beyond Yumulo. He saw videos of people building gadgets from scraps, fixing motherboards with heat guns, even creating inventions with wires and bottle caps. It felt like looking into a mirror he didn't know existed. He typed how to repair phones, and 1,000 tutorials popped up. He clicked one and watched a young man soldering a board with ease. His fingers twitched. He began to practice alongside the video using broken gadgets left in his drawer. By sunset, Tobi had not only learned new tricks, he had improved his speed. But more than the knowledge, something else touched him. Comments flooded those videos, people from India, Brazil, Kenya, America, fixing, learning, sharing. Suddenly, he didn't feel like a lonely boy in a dusty market anymore. He was part of a bigger tribe, the builders of broken things. He started taking notes. Sketched circuits. Rewatched every video 3 times. Baba Cole would sometimes walk by and nod silently, proud of the fire he'd helped light. Mama Era began telling people, that boy doesn't sleep again. Always staring into that glowing book. Meanwhile, Depo watched with clenched fists. The more Tobi grew, the more his customers vanished. But instead of giving up, Depo grew darker. He paid boys to spread fear, accusing Tobi of stealing ideas from the dead through the screen. But it didn't work. Because now, Tobi had found his voice. And very soon, the entire world would hear it. It was Ifeoma's idea. She had seen how Tobi fixed a tablet using a broken fan blade and a melted spoon. You need to show the world, she said, her voice combat certain. Make a video. Teach like those people you watch. Tobi hesitated. Who would listen to someone like me? She leaned in. Those who are broken will. That evening, using an old camcorder Baba Cole gifted him, they filmed the first video. No lights. No editing. Just Tobi in his patched shirt, hands moving fast, explaining how to fix a water-damaged phone using rice, a brush, and steady fingers. They uploaded it on a borrowed phone using school Wi-Fi. They titled it Fix It Like Tobi, Episode 1. Then they waited. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then on the 4th, everything exploded. Comments came from across Africa, young boys from Uganda, girls in Ghana, even a soldier in South Sudan. This saved my phone, one wrote. You're a blessing, said another. By the end of the week, the video had 40,000 views. The villagers were stunned. Even those who once mocked Tobi now gathered around his bench to watch the boy they once called crazy now become a teacher to the world. Mama Era nearly fainted from joy. Baba Cole just laughed, shaking his stick. I told you, this boy is not local. But Depo was burning. His shop stood empty now, dust gathering where customers once stood. And in his chest, anger grew into something worse. He decided it was time to end Tobi for good. The fire started just before dawn. A neighbor screamed, fire. Fire at Mama Era's shop. By the time Tobi and others rushed out, flames had already swallowed the small kiosk. His bench was gone. The drawer. The tools. The tablet. Ashes. Tobi dropped to his knees. Around him, the crowd whispered. Some wept. Mama Era stood silently, covering her mouth. Only Ifeoma knelt beside him, placing her hand on his shoulder. We'll start again, she whispered. But Tobi didn't move. Hours later, the fire was declared mysterious. But everyone knew it wasn't. Someone had poured kerosene around the back wall. The village whispered a name, but no one dared speak it aloud. Depo denied everything. Jealousy, he laughed. Why would I envy a child with smoke for a shop? That night, Tobi sat by the ruins with only charcoal dust on his palms. Maybe this is the end, he muttered. But it wasn't. Because the very next morning, something unimaginable happened. People from across the village, and even from 2 nearby towns, came with tools. Others came with timber, nails, roof sheets, even a solar bulb. A young man Tobi had never met said, "I watched your video and repaired my uncle's phone. I'm here to help rebuild." By sunset, they had built a brand new shed. Bigger. Stronger. Brighter. Tobi stood inside it, speechless. Above the doorway, they nailed a fresh sign, "Tobi repairs broken dreams." And this time, the dream was fireproof. News of the fire and the rebirth traveled fast. A popular tech blogger in Lagos picked up the story. Then a radio station in Nairobi. Before long, a news channel ran the headline, "Teenage boy in remote village builds global tech classroom after fire." Donations started coming in. Not just money, but gadgets, kits, even sponsorship offers. Tobi, once mocked in silence, was now celebrated aloud. He received a package with soldering irons, precision screwdrivers, a laptop, and a note that read, "From someone who believes in you, keep repairing the world." Ifeoma cried when she saw it. Baba Cole laughed his old laugh. Even Mama Era started calling him Professor Tobi. The bench became a symbol. Young boys started crowding his shop not just to fix things, but to learn. So Tobi opened what he called Fix School, 2 hours every Saturday, where he taught anyone who showed up how to repair, build, and dream. No fees. Just curiosity. But behind all this joy, Depo was losing everything. His shop shattered. His debts piled up. His bitterness turned inward, then dark. And one night, as the wind howled and the market slept, he made a final decision. Not with fire. This time, with betrayal. Tobi woke to police sirens. 2 officers approached his shop with stern faces. "Are you Tobi Ayadil?" one asked. "You are under investigation for theft and illegal business operation." The world froze. Mama Era ran out. Ifeoma shouted. But the officers showed papers, false, but stamped. "A complaint has been filed," they said. "You're to shut down operations until cleared." Tobi was taken to the station. He sat on a cold bench for hours. Accused of stealing gadgets, running an unlicensed repair center, and using fake parts. His heart pounded, not for himself, but for everyone who had believed in him. He asked to make one call. He dialed the only number saved in the new phone Baba Cole had given him, the tech blogger from Lagos. She answered. He told her everything. Within an hour, she tweeted. Within 3, the internet roared. #FreeTobi began trending across Nigeria. Videos of his work resurfaced. Former customers shared their stories. Teachers, elders, mothers, children. By sunset, the lawyer appeared and sent by someone unknown. The charges were dropped. The complaint exposed, filed by Depo using a fake identity. Tobi walked out of the station to find hundreds waiting. They didn't clap. They just stood in silence, heads bowed, then one by one raised repaired gadgets in the air. And in that moment, Tobi understood something powerful. They didn't follow him because he fixed phones, they followed him because he repaired hope.